Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us connected, and perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made that connection. Our topic today is celebrating the disability culture with adventure, song, and storytelling as we discuss Invisible Fences that will be playing at the Open Eye Theater March 6th through the 15th. And joining me today is the wonderful Kevin Kling, who is a storyteller, playwright, who brings the musical to life with Galen Lee, who is a singer and songwriter. Welcome, Kevin. So glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I have treasured your work for literally decades. We were talking earlier about the first performance I saw of 21A, a bus ride of many colorful characters that you brought to life with both quirkiness and and heart. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the art that you've brought to not only Minnesota but to the country, to the world. You have been such a gift, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Wow.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to have you first share a little bit about what you see the power of sharing stories, because you do it so well and you connect with people so deeply with bringing characters to life. Tell me about, you've had decades of doing this work. What is the power of story from your point of view?
You brought up, I think, one of the most important words is the connection.
Hmm.
I always know a storytelling goes well when a kid comes up and goes, "You're almost as good as my grandpa." Okay, nailed it.
Uh, and
Because
I forgot
when
to
you,
mention that you're also a wonderful educator. That's been a big part of your life, too.
oh, thanks. Well, yeah, but that whole idea of when you tell a story, you have to remember people are casting it and doing all the directing it and everything in their own heads with what they bring to the story. There's a wonderful quote by Borges, who says the relationship between a storyteller and a listener is like that of tasting an apple. You don't know if the flavor's in the apple or the mouth,
Oh, that is.
and so somewhere in between we meet, and it is that connection that we know we belong. The other phrase that came to mind when you said that is there's a saying from Zimbabwe: until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. So, you, as the storyteller, you are taking a perspective and you're bringing it to light. You're taking control of your own life. I found when I go through hard things, if I can tell a story about it, it doesn't control me anymore. And it's in my vernacular, the way I see the world. And some of my earliest experiences were like in the outback of Australia, walking with this man, Clem Cotard. He's an Atnamatnya man, that means the rock people, and he was describing the landscape to me and their song lines and how they sing the world into existence when they walk through it. And all of a sudden, it came to me of our earliest stories, how this formation came here, how this tree, how these, we always consider these creation myths
Mhm.
as how the world was formed. But in reality, after hearing him, it it's not that it's we are part of this mystery. We aren't explaining the mystery. It's in us, and we are part of it. We're walking through it. Um, it's like 600 languages in Australia. There's no word for ownership or time.
Oh, isn't that
Um,
beautiful?
yeah, and so when your culture is formed like that, it's just they're people of landscape.
And there's
Um,
something about the
yeah,
power of naming it,
yeah,
that
exactly.
the naming of something is part of the creation, that allows us to be connected to it as well.
That's
Um,
beautiful. Yeah, thank you. That's a great one. Yeah, it is.
you consider yourself a cultural advocate, and it seems to me that part of what you're sharing in taking us to Australia is part of that cultural advocacy through storytelling too. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it one of the things that I learned in Australia was the more specific I was about Minnesota, the more universal it became.
Ah.
For one thing, humor. We always think of humor as being universal. That is just the opposite of the truth. When you laugh with somebody, your family, you share a family, a faith, a community.
Mhm.
So humor is actually really specific. So when you laugh, all of a sudden you're connected. That's why I like using humor in my work. But also, like, okay, I'm in the middle of the outback, and it's like I don't think it got below 95 degrees. It was mostly 115, and I was dying. I got a little radiator. I'm from Minnesota,
Uh,
so I'm suffering, and I decided to tell these guys ice fishing stories because I think it'll blow their minds. So
they
I'm
have no
telling
context.
no, I'm telling ice fishing, and they're laughing like a bunch of Minnesotans. And I'm
Uh,
like, what? It completely surprised me. And so afterwards, I asked one of the guys. I said, "How did you guys get all those stories? I mean, how did you? You were laughing like you got it." And he goes, "Well, yeah, of course." He says, "Because our weather can kill us too. Only it's on the
ah,
other end of the thermometer."
ah,
And I realized by being specific about Minnesota, I was actually becoming universal because instead of me going to their world, they had to come all the way around to our side of the world. And so it connected us. I think it's like when we tell stories from history, we can't go back in history. It's impossible. It's like I was saying earlier about the kid. You can't go back in time because they had such a different world than we can even imagine that they were going through the experience differently. But what we can do is we can pull history forward to where we are now and see it and hear it as a perspective on where we are at this moment. And so that's why I think it's really important to tell our histories, all histories, because they provide a perspective of this moment that we can use to further ourselves, to learn from ourselves.
and there's an importance to that. There's
Yeah,
there's an importance and a meaning, and it's the here and now moment that we are living and experiencing that allows us to perhaps move forward when we feel
to,
stuck too.
really true. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was important for you to be a part of this Invisible Fences. I know it was workshopped last year, and you're bringing it back to life, and it was sold out last year, so I'm sure it'll be sold out again this year. But talk to me about the importance of this work.
Well, it brings so many worlds that are my concerns and my loves into being. When I grew up in the theater, the last thing you wanted was for people to see your disability, to recognize your disability. So you're doing everything you could to hide it, and you were doing everything to deflect and to because you weren't going to get on stage if you had a disability, if you were, and so in this time, it's just been beautiful how it went from being hidden to being accepted. That was another word for a while, or tolerated, to now being embraced at times, and so that the disability is as much part of our lives as it is in our lives. It's like when I tell an evening of stories, people wonder why I don't tell all about disabilities, and I'll say I tell about as much as it is part of my life.
Mm.
So it'll be about a third, or it'll be a half, or something, depending upon the topic. But it isn't my whole life. I'm so many other things, and yet it is a really important part of my life. And just to see that aspect flower in this time that I've been able to perform. So I think and watching disability turn into this term that you use that I just love so much, that I first heard from Galen Lee, disability culture, that
Mhm.
it is actually, and the reason I think that's correct is that the first time I walked into Interact Theater, which is a performing group of people with and without disabilities, I walked into this room, and all of a sudden, here's all these actors with different abilities, and I felt at home. My
Mm.
blood pressure dropped, and all of a sudden, I was going, "What's going on here?" I didn't expect it, and even though we didn't share a past or a disability or all these things, we had a connection. We all understood certain things about our environment and people around us that was a shared experience.
I
And so
Go ahead.
that's why I agree with disability culture. I didn't think I would, because I was going like, 1 in 5 people are disabled. I mean, how can that be a culture? But it truly is. And and after the pandemic, I'm jumping all over here,
No, no,
Susan,
no, good, good. That's why we love having you here. Go for it.
uh, uh, but like the pandemic, I don't have to explain disability as much anymore, because
Interesting.
after the pandemic, people know what it's like to live in a world not built for them. And so I can just jump right into the meat of it, because I don't have to explain what, like, all the things like adaptive things, needing to ask for help, just certain things that are givens in the world of disability. Now everyone understands because of the pandemic. And it was an interesting cultural growth that I found that our culture went through.
Well, going back for just a moment to the Interact, I absolutely adore Interact Theater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me
And they've
too.
been on my radio show a few times. And you were part of going to Thailand with them, as I recall.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh man, what a rush. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
really,
we met the princess of Thailand.
yeah, the princess built you a building.
Yeah. Oh,
Incredible.
I know. Well, Jeannie Calvert, the mad genius of,
Yes,
of
yes.
Interact. She did a workshop there, and the princess happened to see it, and the princess said, "This is what we need." And she built them a $4 million building that's in Chiang Mai, that's shaped like a piano. So
Uh,
you're up on a mountain and you look down, it looks like there's a giant piano in the middle of Chiang Mai, and it's this building.
mhm.
And it's phenomenal. And one of my favorite things, we performed for the princess, and as she was leaving, she pointed at the gift shop, because uh, part of their curriculum is visual arts, and there's all these artists' work in this gift shop. So the princess points, and it was the buzz of the place. Whose work did she point at? Whose work did she buy that's going home with the princess? And I mean, the buzz was fierce. So I come up to one of her aides and I go, we got to know. We got to know whose work she pointed at. And the aide said, "Oh, she pointed at the gift shop." And we go, "I know, but whose work?" He goes, "No, the gift shop. She bought the whole thing. She bought the whole gift shop." So all these guys are making more work like pronto, because we were out of art. Um, but it was absolutely. I went back 4 years in a row, and it was absolutely magic. Because in so many cultures, ours as well, you don't realize that sometimes the powers that disability gives you, some forms of autism, there's a memory skill that comes with that, or Williams syndrome. Generally, people with Williams syndrome, for whatever reason, have perfect pitch.
Mm.
So you can give these folks these incredibly difficult pieces of music, and they sing it, and people in the
Pitch
audience, their
perfect.
jaws
Pitch
are
perfect.
just
Yeah.
dropped. Yeah, and just all uh, and the folks that I work with Down syndrome have this way into the human heart that there's no other way to get into. It's like, and so these different factions of disability culture, uh, it's not in lieu of their disability, it's because of their disability they're able to bring a perspective that is invaluable.
And I'm so excited about being able to come see your show that celebrates it so beautifully. Before we go, I do have to go to a segment. You really should do a movie about the Thailand adventure.
Oh,
There really should be a movie, and I'm
yeah.
just going to plant that seed. That has got to come to life. That whole amazing 4 year celebration is amazing. But we're going to get back to talk about this invisible fence, invisible fences, and I love that we hopped around because, as I understand it, Kevin, you are a grasshopper.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
talk more about your role and about the play itself, and we'll be back just after a few commercials.
Thanks, Lori.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. Our topic today is celebrating the disability culture with adventure, song, and storytelling as we discuss Invisible Fences that will be playing at Open Eye Theater March 6th to the 15th. And joining me today is Kevin Kling, storyteller, playwright, who brings the musical to life with Galen Lee, who is a singer-songwriter. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
delight to have you here, and a delight to hear more about this story. What I understand about this story is its unlikely friends go on an epic quest in this mystical fable of the Largoff, which is Galen Lee, as a platypus who was born with spontaneous genetic mutation that caused her to sprout wings, horns, and a snout, and the grasshopper Kevin Kling, who lost 2 of his limbs as a nymph and is on a quest to get to the city for a peaceful retirement. Together, this unlikely pair embarks on a journey where they come face to face with different worlds, dangers, and dreams.
Wow, yep, there it is.
There's the show.
Yeah.
So you're touching on identity, disability, and the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, it is the funnest ride, I have to say. We just have a ball when we do this thing, and so the audience, it's an interesting, and I until this interview I was thinking, okay, what can I say about the play, and I realized because it's couched in a fable, it's this safe middle ground between disability and ability, where we can both feel at ease, where it's a comfort zone for both of us. That it is a fable. It's a fable. The grasshopper and the Largoff is like an invented character by Galen, and totally invented this character. She said, because I thought when we first were going to do this workshop, I thought I was going to introduce Galen, then she was going to tell a bunch of stories, and my job was done. I was going to sit in the back and enjoy her work. She goes, no, I want to do a play. I want to do a play. And oh, great. So she wanted to play this Largoff because she's always felt like as much like a woodland creature as she does human. And she says, I want to, and she and her husband, Paul, they have invented this alter ego called the Largoff. And I said, well, what is it? And she showed me this thing that they pulled out of a crane game, like at the state fair.
Yes.
This stuffed animal with horns and a snout that you pull out of a crane. And so here's one. I found one in a crane, and God, I laughed so hard. And she's invented this wonderful new invention that is like a derivation of a platypus. I learned that too. And
I haven't seen too many stuffed platypuses, so that in itself is amazing that she found one in a crane game.
Oh, it is, and so she and it is a wonderful character. Oh my! And part of her mutation that separated her from other platypuses is her singing ability. And so we get these. I mean, if you know Galen Lee's work, it is so profound.
Mm-hmm.
Her lyrics are just the deepest poetry, and then she brings this musicianship that just, oh my gosh, it is. And she's joined by Jeremy Ilvisacker, who, if you know Jeremy, mm-hmm. he's one of the finest guitar players in the world. And so we couldn't believe it. She goes, I got Jeremy, and we just were out of our minds when we joined the team.
And with that, how about if we share one of her songs? Why don't we do
fantastic.
I would love that. Let's do Lost in the Woods. And we'll play the whole song.
Great.
By everyone, you were searching for words, but they came out absurd, and no one heard you speak your mind. They lost the time. Where's your heart? Where's your heart today? Forgive yourself, but don't give yourself away. give yourself away.
So charming. I love the idea of, love your heart and forgive yourself, but don't give yourself away.
Yeah, and that's how the journey embarks. She's that song comes just as they're taking off into the unknown, and her songs provide this kind of a alternative way of viewing the play, where she brings us back to the world of that we're in now, and then the play is like this fable, this journey that we take, and then Galen comes in with another brilliant song that bookends the scenes, and it's such a moving juxtaposition. I have to say, it's like I was getting choked up there just because her songs stand so beautifully on their own, but the play provides another context for them that you hear them from another perspective.
When you were talking to us in the first segment about perspectives, and it's always the hunter's story until the lion, shares theirs, and without it being predator prey,
Right.
the idea of hearing other perspective that sometimes is not considered is beautiful, and allows
Yeah.
us the richness of seeing the magic, seeing the adventure in a new and special way.
Well, I think that's the duty and the beauty of any artist, is that we are always looking for a new perspective, and that's what the arts provide. Whether it's visual or musical, or or theatrical or poetry, and I know we always say these days, but
Hmm.
I really got to say these days
Yeah.
we need it more than ever. It's this perspective on this confounding, confusing world is the arts. This is when we're needed.
Yeah.
We move from entertainment to need when we're in a time like we are now.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've
so
had several folks that I've asked to come on the show just to talk about that. I do think that art is our hope.
I agree.
Art
Yeah.
is our way to navigate when we all feel crazy.
Yeah.
It's our way of being able to come back and go, okay, what can we craft that allows us to re-envision a future, um, re create potential and possibilities.
Well,
It's
we have
only
to
through our
move. Yeah.
imagination.
We have to move out of the head. Well, you just said it right there. I'm sorry, I was cutting you
No,
off.
no, no.
Apologize, but you said it right at the end. Our imagination
Hmm.
takes us out of our heads, and I think when we're in our heads, we're on this cycle. But when we imagine, we we're, we leave our heads. We it becomes again part of our hearts, part of our. Um, it the thing about imagination though is not to live there, but to use it as a tool. I think part of the danger of fantasy is when we end up living there, and it is such a it our world is a connection of fantasy, of imagination, but also in reality. And how do they look at each other with a
Hmm.
cold eye?
Hmm.
And I think that's important, is that when we're too steeped in one or the other, we become rigid, or we become too ethereal, depending upon the one you choose. And so I think using imagination as a tool is invaluable.
And it does take us on that adventure together. And I think that's important. And you mentioned it earlier about the aliveness of coming together in the
Yeah.
connection of art. And I think there's a sadness for me, at least, and I think I've talked to others that have felt the same way, that we've lost empathy. I've had people look straight in my eyes and go, "Well, as long as it doesn't impact me, I don't care." What?
Well, and I think that's the duty of art again, is to
Yep.
to help people realize it does impact you.
Yes.
It's everybody knows someone with a disability if they don't have one. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody it impacts you. And you brought up another great point, Laurie. I love the way you think, and that is that the connection is there's one of my favorite words is belonging, and
Hmm.
it's because it's two words. It's being and longing. It's
Mhm.
a paradox in itself. You be, and you're longing. You dream of something else. And we are most happy as humans when we are in this paradox, oddly enough. And that's what I think we're talking about with this reality and imagination, is that we need to long, we need to dream, but we also need to be. We need a nest, and we need vastness, and we need risk, and we need comfort at the same time. It's when we thrive, when our creativity thrives. And so I think that belonging, it isn't it isn't just a nest. It's also that ability to say, I want to go further. I want to, what can I do? One of my favorite things, a psychiatrist told me, he works with people coming back first from Iraq and then Afghanistan. And he said, the sentence that has saved more lives than any other is, you will find love again. And it's because you have this vision of the future. You have a trajectory and a momentum. And that's one of the things that art provides as well, is the sense, not necessarily the trajectory or momentum, but the sense of one. And that's when we leave our heads. That's when we leave the confusing world and enter that world of momentum.
And when I hear you say that, it also gives us confidence. I mean, when we're
Oh,
not
God, yeah.
feeling like there is a trajectory, to see one and to feel it and to
Yes.
come through it, it's like, okay, we can get through this.
Well, that's like being in love.
Yeah.
When you're in love,
Yeah.
I mean, I always think, when you're in love, gravity goes from a law to a suggestion. The rules don't apply anymore.
No.
And it is because of what you're saying. You have this confidence that it's just no bearing on anything. Your friends are all going, you're crazy, and you're going, no, you just don't see it. It's like, yeah, it is. I relate the two a lot. That feeling of love. And I think that's why people are so afraid of the arts, is the same reason they're so afraid of love, because it's an abandonment. You have to let yourself go to some extent and give yourself over to this experience. And that terrifies people. So in the arts, part of the job I do, especially as a storyteller, is first thing a storyteller needs is to establish trust. So now they trust you. The second thing is to let them know they're in a safe space. And then you can go by the third quarter of the whole thing, you can go to those dangerous places, because the audience will go there with you. And then you set them down easy at the end, so that there's a way they can reflect on that dangerous place they went, but we were safe when we went there. So now when it happens in real life, when you do encounter loss or trauma in real life, you've already been there, and you have something to go back to say, okay, I know I can get through that. One of the most interesting things, when I went to the MacPhail Center a while back, they played music for these little babies. So they got these little babies, these little, cookie dough faced babies. And they're just, and I'm going like, what are you doing? Why are you play? What's the deal? What do you know? Is it just for their entertainment? They go, no. They said, we found that babies, when they get older, if you play them music, they handle transitions in life better.
Oh my goodness.
And like throughout their entire lives, if they were as babies experienced music, they know that another song is coming. They know that a song continues in ways we don't understand, or something. I don't know. I can't explain it, but they do know that physiologically it creates an ability to handle transitions better. So here we are with the arts, and there's so many things the arts provide that we can't explain in terms that are, that we have in terms of science. It's like, okay, I'm jumping all over, but here's another one. NASA, right?
Yeah.
They started hiring storytellers, and a friend of mine got hired by NASA. And she goes, why are you, what are you doing? You were talking, and this leads into, I know you wanted to talk about the OpenEye.
And we will, and I promise we will in the next segment, but I want to hear the rest of this story. But next
yeah.
segment.
So a friend of mine that works, that came to do that part of the OpenEye program, she told me she got hired by NASA. And I said, well, why did you get hired by NASA? And she goes, well, they told me they needed storytellers because they said they keep shooting scientists in space and poets come back.
Oh my gosh. I love
and she
that.
said they couldn't figure out what was going on, but it kept happening. So they go, we got to figure this out. So they hired storytellers and especially Native American elders and people that are used to like the thin veil, the thresholds, the unknowns. And of course you experience that in space. You're on the threshold of the unknown, and so you can't just come back with science. Your poet kicks in at some point, and because it has to. That's the only way you can explain things that are beyond our scan, our known. Anyway,
Oh,
so
I love that story. My father was an aerospace engineer, physicist, and he was a poet. He believed in the dreams, and they're beautiful.
oh, you have to. Yeah.
With that, we do need to go to break, and I can't wait to come back and talk to you about your Visionary Voices series, more about the Open Eye, and all these wonderful adventures that you're a part of.
Great.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and our topic today has been celebrating the disability culture with adventure, song, and storytelling as we discuss Invisible Fences that will be playing at the Open Eye Theater from March 6th to the 15th. And joining me today is Kevin Kling, storyteller, playwright, author, actor, cultural advocate, and definitely hailed as a Minnesota State treasure. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Lori. It's been a blast so far. It's a lot.
It is a joy to have you on the show. We were talking about all the cool things that this show does in creating adventure, and how it connects the disabled and abled to go on an adventure together, together, to discover our heart. You've been part of doing Visionary Voices for about 5 years, and your company is Kling & Company. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell,
Yep.
tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's a company that we formed. My wife Mary and I formed it actually when we started working with the state. We with the hub. It's this wonderful resource where you can go to the state, and we did interviews with different people around the state about employment, and especially young people,
Mhm.
people that are with disabilities that are thinking about employment, and so we formed this company to kind of work with that. But then this company connected with OpenEye, and oh my gosh, it has been just a wonderful collaboration. I love OpenEye, and I've worked with them ever since their inception, and with Sue Haas and Michael Summers, and now Joel Sass. Is just the way they've opened their doors and their arms to to different kinds of theater, different kinds of performance, and it shows in their audiences. It's just a myriad of cultures and ages that they cater to. I can't speak highly enough of OpenEye Theater, and then opening doors to different, like with this show, and specifically they really went the extra mile to provide an experience for anyone to have for this Invisible Fences. There's captioning, there's signing, there's all forms of ways that anyone can come to this show and enjoy it. And I had a family, and the two adults had disabilities, and they brought their little girl, and they said, "This is the first play we've all been able to come and see."
What a
And because it really is it, and OpenEye, to their credit, really went the extra mile to provide an experience everyone can have. And it's been the same way of past shows we've done. Dovey Thomason, who's an amazing a Native American teller. She's a Apache Oglala teller, and she came in and did a show called How the West Was Spun, and it blew people's minds. It was a Wild West show seen through the eyes of the Native Americans that were part of it. And she just ripped the lid off of that one. So Joel was excited, and he said, we got to bring her back for another show. Okay. And so Dovey, in her way, Dovey can't just come straight at something. The next show she did was about outer space because she's a science fiction. She just is a science fiction nut. So she just all of a sudden but she does this whole view of the cosmos again through a Native American perspective, through the different myths and code, but then all of a sudden bringing it to now because she loves Star Wars and it's just like so it just again and those just sold right out and we brought in other incredible storytellers. Allison Boren did a piece. She's just incredible local performer and ran Strike Theater for many years, and she did a piece on autoimmune, and it just again it was so powerful, and it really brought in people. So these everyone has just been a unique and wonderful experience. And so, yeah, we were excited to bring in Galen for this. And again, I thought, well, she'd just get up and talk. And no, we've got this play that she's helped create. And in fact, she's a major part of this piece. And I got to throw in my 2 bits. And yeah, it's been really something.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit that Open Eye sent me, which I think is wonderful for folks who've never experienced the Open Eye Theater. This does a beautiful job of sort of telling the story. It serves artists and audiences by advancing adventuresome and imaginative arts programming. The Open Eye Theater is nationally recognized as a vibrant home for artists who create imaginative and profound experience that open eyes, hearts, and minds through the amazing stories and unforgettable performances. There's a thrilling array of inventive puppetry, live music, world-class storytelling from local, national, and international artists. And it's year-round, and it's a cozy little 90-seat theater down in South Minneapolis. And is it through the Open Eye that the driveway tour takes place? I remember that getting started years ago. It was just bizarre where you can just actually have theater in your backyard.
Oh, it's going strong.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really, that's another one you got to jump on fast. They come to your driveway, they perform a puppet show. I think the only stipulation is you pass a hat and you have to make lemonade. And there are these incredible shows that they've done for decades that are just beautiful. And they bring this little gem of a show to your driveway. But and if you come to this theater, you just can't believe it's this. You can't buy a vibe. You walk into a theater and it's either got a vibe or it doesn't. And Open Eye just has this vibe of inclusivity that you just can't beat. And they're just it is just a great gift to get to be able to perform there.
And Invisible Fences opens on Thursday, March 6th. And it goes all the way. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday set of performances. So it starts on the 6th and it goes through the 15th. Highly recommend folks to go ahead and get some tickets now. You can go to box office at openeyetheater.org. And, sometimes theater is spelled with an R-E and sometimes it's E-R. This one's an R-E. So it's openeyetheater.org, or you can call 612-874-6338. And just in case you want that number again, 612-874-6338. Wonderful show. There is, it's right on 24th Street. So 506 East 24th Street in Minneapolis, and it's about 2 blocks south of Franklin Avenue. So it's in the heart of Uptown.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And get your tickets soon because, we really do expect this to sell out.
And with that, I'd love to have you share a little bit about what you hope that audience will take away from the show. We talked in the last segment about hope and giving hope during a time where it feels kind of cold in terms of what's happening in our world. But I also know that you and I both lived through the 80s when it had some similar challenges in our politics. And we got through it, and we got through it with art. What do you hope for the audiences to come and experience so they come through with that confidence? What can you tell me?
Well, I think part of it is that we're in this thing together. A big heart of this show is it's a friendship that develops, and it's an unlikely friendship. And it's two creatures that have to see each other for who they really are. And they really do come to that point where that they see the gifts that somebody else brings that are different than themselves. And I think that is such an important thing these days, is that this sense of identity that we have. So many folks are coming from, whether it's gender, whether it's ability, whether it's race, they're both embracing their identity, but also, where are the connections? Where do we come together? Where can we meet in this? And that's where our strengths lie. And these two that come together in the show really need each other to make it. And they rely on each other to make it. And they rely on their differences. And I think that's I think what people come away with. Also, it feels really good, and you get to laugh really hard. I mean, how do you beat that?
You don't.
And
beat
Galen's music will transport you. It's phenomenal.
I also hear in everything that you say about it that there's a genuine kindness, and the world needs so much more kindness right now.
Well, you're right. Well, that was important to us. I haven't thought, but that is really important to both of us. That there is. I think that's something that we forget we are as humans. That we build these walls around ourselves, when in reality, I think kindness is one of our biggest strengths. I got a really quick story. Do we have time for a super quick one?
Yes, a super quick one. We sure do.
Okay, Professor Leakey was doing these diggings in Africa, and he came in, and when we went from being herbivores to carnivores, we had to develop different skills. We had to have new tools, new language, and he couldn't figure out what the third one was. And hundreds of miles from the original site, he did a digging and found a skeleton of a woman that had brittle bone disease. And he said she had to be carried from site to site to site. And he said, then he figured out the third and most important, he figured, of all the new skills, and that was compassion. And it was because you had to realize you never knew who was going to save the day, to save the group, to save the entire species, was someone. So we need to save each other in order to have that person rise to the top when they're needed.
And that, to me, is the heart of your show, the compassion. How do we how do we come together with that sense of community and comedy, that calm that means the witness, and have the passion to do something more. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Well said, Lori. That was well said.
Well, you are a joy to have on the show, and you're welcome back every and any time that you would like to be talking about your shows. And I also want to mention, if folks recognize Kevin from like NPR, he's on Almanac and he's on NPR and he does beautiful work. So you're a joy. The work that you do is spectacular. And I may even have to think about doing a driveway show.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. They're
I'm kind of out in the country like you are. I've got a little hobby farm, so it'll have to be in front of the barn by the horses and the chickens. So
perfect.
Would love to do it. So with that, good luck on the show. Blessings to you for all the work that you do, and for promoting compassion. It's what the world needs.
Thank you.
Award-winning singer-songwriter Galen Lee and master storyteller Kevin Kling bring you Invisible Fences, a musical fable blending song and story in a powerful celebration of disability culture. After their sold-out run in 2023, they're back for 2 weeks only at Open Eye Theater March 6th through the 15th. As one audience member said, it was a creative, delightful, entertaining, joyous production, totally original and enlightening. Don't miss out. Get your tickets now at openeyetheater.org.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman.